This episode of the Small Business Leaders Podcast is brought to you by Whiskey Rose Boutique.
Hi, and welcome to this episode of the Small Business Leaders Podcast, brought to you by the Legacy Podcast Studio in Kernersville, North Carolina. My name's Lamar Powell, and this is my wonderful co-host, Audra Adams. Welcome back.
Oh, thank you. I have missed a lot in the last little bit, and I'm happy to be back with all of you and and even Daniel over there at the soundboard. This episode, let's get to it. This episode is going to be very dynamic. We have Jen Allen of the Whiskey Rose Boutique in Walburg, North Carolina, in the house today. And this is a woman-owned business, and the way that she got to where she is a very cool tale.
Amazing background story. Can't wait to hear it. Yeah.
Let's get into it.
Okay.
Welcome to the studio, Jen. We are so excited that you are here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
You have such an interesting start and where we are now, which is what we love to get into on this particular podcast. I think that it takes a lot of guts to do what I have just had a cursory glance at of how you've started. So why don't you tell everybody the name of your business and where we are now, and then we're going to start where we were.
Okay. Well, the name of the business is Whiskey Rose Boutique. So we are a small town storefront. Technically Winston-Salem, but I would say Walburg.
Yeah.
So we're about like 15 minutes from here, downtown Kernersville, and 15 minutes from downtown Winston. We love our location, right in Davidson County.
Oh,
Cool.
The good taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. So
No offense, Mayor joined. Okay.
we love Kernersville
We love
downtown.
the triad, all of it.
Yes.
Yes, and Mayor Donna. Yeah, we agree. It's just such a perfect little nook that, it's quaint enough and artsy enough and all of those things.
Yep.
But now, how long has your business been opened?
So we opened on the books 2019. That's when the business was technically birthed in the sense of the LLC. Then COVID hit, and I was working a full-time job.
What job were you working at?
I was working in furniture. So I worked in the furniture industry a little over 5 years before I transitioned to do this. So it was a lot of like sales support, like with the customer service, but different because you're a global supply chain. So it was a lot. It was a good job and paid the bills, but I was like, had that yearning for that more. And so I was trying to do it on the side, and then COVID hit. So just supply chain in general was affected.
Sure.
And I don't know, I went down a little road and I thought, let me go to grad school. Like I always felt like I had to be qualified and having like title behind my name or like,
Wonder why.
a degree. I don't know. Maybe it was just, I don't want to say my upbringing because I wouldn't blame that on like my parents or the church or anything. But I think sometimes it was just maybe me. Like I felt like I needed to be more, like have more behind my name to validate me.
Okay.
And so I went to grad school at Wake and I started that process.
For what exactly?
An MBA.
Okay.
And I absolutely love it. But I took a leave of absence because I'm like, do I need to do this to run a small business? And the conclusion to that is no. Wake is still available for me to go back and finish. I'm like partially through. But again, I realized I didn't need to have the qualification to do it. I just needed to believe in myself.
There you go.
And that qualified me.
It does. Say that again.
Yeah, it does.
Yep.
But you also have your background, because I read your bio, and I'm like, wow, that's a lot to it. So you also have a bachelor's, right?
Yeah.
In
psychology.
Okay, from Texas A&M. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we arguing that's the Aggies, right?
Yes, Gig 'em Aggies.
So Tell us about, because I know that all that past has to do with what you're doing now and your future too.
Yeah. So, how did all that come about?
What was that about?
The saying when I I was opening the store and I finally got the key was, not all who wander are lost. And that feels like the story of my life, just summed up in a phrase, because during the course of my life, my ex-husband is retired military. So I was around the world and around the U.S. in particular, moving all over every few years because of that life, which is great. I had my kids. I was afforded to be a stay-at-home mom. He retired, and within a couple years, we divorced. So I also, after that, was trying to find myself again. Like, who am I outside of being a military wife? Who am I outside of being a mom? And then I became a single mom. And so there were hard things that I went through, but it shaped me into like, oh, I can do anything now. Like, I don't give up. And trust me, there's still days when I feel like I could give up, but I feel like now I'm on the other side of it, to where you see like the beauty in pushing through and the grit behind just not stopping.
And I think that is that is why we wanted to do this kind of podcast for small business owners, because it takes so much courage and so much grit to go out and say, I am going to do this. I'm going to go all in.
Yeah.
And, win, lose, or draw here. I'm doing this. And, we're all sitting at this table as entrepreneurs, and small business is such a huge part of our economy, of our community. I'm saying all your words today.
You are, and I'm impressed. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, but that means you don't get to. But, I mean, it really does set the tone, I think, for the town. Honestly.
I agree.
And then you are able, as we are, and I love this part, to interact with people and really get to know them. And it matters, that interaction, not just to them, but to you, I think. Have you found that to be true?
Absolutely. Like, the reason I didn't choose to be in a different storefront location that cost quite a bit less than to be, and I don't mean that in a mean way, but like to be where we are next to a shopping, like within the shopping center, that's like the primary one in Wahlberg, you're going to pay more for your real estate. But at the same time, it's like, to be there is gold, because I get to meet my neighbors, like people who I've lived around for 10 or 12 years, never met before. Yeah. They get to walk in, and it's only because of that store. Like, you know what I mean?
I totally
Choosing
know.
that location. So not that I wouldn't love meeting people, having a different location in Winston or here. I love downtown Kernersville, but it's I'm meeting the people who my kids go to school with, or that part of their sports, they know somebody who knows my kid or whatever. And I love that.
It's like being Kevin Bacon almost, 6 degrees of separation. Everybody knows Kevin Bacon. Do you understand that joke?
Yes, I do understand that.
Do you know that? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you're vested in that town and that community. Yes. You're vested in that, and I think that's important. You fall in love with a place, and not only you want to do business there, but you want to give back, and you interact with all those people. Those relationships are vital. We've learned that at this table.
Absolutely. So, I do want to go back at some point. I mean, you've given us a little bit of history. Why not psychology?
Okay. So yes, let's circle back to that. So I started out in actually vocal music performance.
I saw that a little bit.
I grew up on a stage, and I got to like the first year of music theory, and I was like, this is not working for me, because it turned into the math, technical, black and white. It has to be this. And I'm an improv creative. And so on a stage, you learn, you got to roll with it.
You do it. The show must go on.
Yep. And so you just you make it happen some way, somehow. You understand. Mm-hmm. And so I grew up with that, and it took the love
of music away
almost instantly. And I knew it. I was like, I can't do this, because I don't want to see music this way. I don't know how to explain it, but
were you just singing, or was it like musical theater, or was it just like classically training?
They were doing more with me to where it could be contemporary.
Okay.
So I was learning that, but at the basic of a music major in college, they're going to start you out with all the theory. And I had done a lot of that because I trained from the time I was like middle school, specifically when it came to voice. You know, your voice changes and then you can go into that. But when it came to piano, I started in second grade. So it was years and years of doing things a certain way and like all the theory and the classical stuff. And you got to do it and it's great.
Yeah, you do.
And the foreign languages. But it came down to it and I was like, oh, I was bored. It just didn't make me come alive in that way. Like if I was going to do music, I just wanted to be able to perform it and be part of the production.
Love that.
Even if you're in the backstage, it's still so fun. You get to be part of it. So I switched to psychology because it just felt like a safe thing. I'd taken some psych classes that first year, and I was like, just sign me up. So doesn't that sound like a 20-year-old?
Yeah. Exactly. I mean,
like, let's try it. We don't have to think through too much and overthink.
I love that.
Yeah. So I just kind of landed into psychology. However, I've always been a people person. I've always loved to understand why is it, like I've asked myself, why is it that I'm left-handed and my children aren't left-handed? Their dad was left-handed. Like just little things like that where you're like, why does our brain work that way? And how does it manifest to this thought?
Curious by nature.
Yeah, that's just me.
Yeah.
So I had dabbled with, do I go on and get a grad degree way back when I was in my early 20s? And I decided, no, I'll stop. I'll work the field. Then I'll go back because I'll know a little more how to be like specified for my graduate degree, not just roll into it. But I never went back. I got distracted with good things. I got married and had babies and did all those wonderful things. So I didn't pursue my dream, my daydream, as you would say, until the kids got a little older and went through the divorce and kind of had to look at myself again, say, like, what do I want? And is this serving me anymore? Like, I had a great job. I had great benefits. I love my coworkers still to this day. We stay in touch and we get together for like a dinner or drinks, but I just wasn't feeling it. And when I went to leave that job, the CCO at the time, she pulled me into her office and she's like, look, I see you. I see how I used to be, like as your age. You're very smart. You're bored. You can do this job in your sleep. And I just really want the best for you when you go into your MBA. Like, because I had started the process while I was working and they were so gracious to let me like leave a little early to grab my kids, to get them home, get dinner, and then go to school at night. And so they were just so supportive. And I ended up leaving that job for another sales position, which was a promotion. And then eventually, I think it was about a year into that, I got laid off just because of their, business. It's just business. And I was literally like, I had prayed, this is the gold in it. The weekend before I was at the beach and I had just had this prayer, like, God, it's that moment. Like, this isn't serving me. This isn't the dream I see for me and my kids someday. And this job, I don't think is going to get me there. And it wasn't that the job was bad or the company was, it was just not for me anymore. And I had that longing for more, but I was like, I don't know how to get myself there. So had the prayer, just a little moment, nothing big.
Were you actually on the beach when you did this? Girl. That has been transformative moments that I can go back to in my life. I just relate to that so much. And I think our listeners and viewers will too. Yeah. If you are calmed by that, it really allows you to think strategically and emotionally at the same time. And I have gotten peace and there. Yeah. I'm like, and I'll tell people, I'm like, y'all just leave me alone. And I go get my chair and I sit by the water and I just let it come in. And I don't know. It's grounding. And I don't know how to explain it either. It's always been a healing place and a place I got clarity. And, it's beautiful and all the other things. But if I felt lost
if I was at a beach, if I could just find myself by a beach, I would find what I needed to do next.
Isn't that crazy? One of the things that always inspired me about why that is I feel like, and especially I can relate on the single mom standpoint for, about 6 years. I got a divorce and then I was completely single for 6 years. And I had 2 little girls and, trying to raise them. And we all know that, really the goal is to not have a family breakup and not have the woundings that children end up having because of it. No matter how nice it is, it's still...
Absolutely.
It's still there. And it's still a scar that, affects them even to this day. But when I sit at the ocean and I look over the vastness of it and how life-giving it is to so many creatures that I can't even name or know, animals, all of those things, but it still has a border. Like, it can only come so far. And that really spoke to me in those times to say, I'm trying to be everything for everybody. Wow. But even the ocean is not allowed to come any farther than and I'm in a faith way than the Creator allows it to come. And so I let myself up a little bit and say, oh, I have a limit. Yeah. And then I began to understand boundaries.
That's so good.
And you can start doing that. And I think that translates to business and that translates to family. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think as entrepreneurs too, because my wife and I were talking about this just the last couple of days, because we've had business success, we've had business failure. We know the impact. Just being an entrepreneur, that's unique in and of itself because you look at things in a different lens. But the importance of taking some time for yourself to reevaluate things, to learn from the challenges that you're going through in life. And it's such a need for balance and taking some time for yourself. So I think all of us absolutely need to do that.
Do you feel like there is definitely a time to grind? Like, do you feel like that?
Yeah.
With business?
Yeah, absolutely. There's deadlines. There's things that have to be done that nobody's going to do if you don't show up. I mean, that's on you.
Yeah.
But what I feel like where you're going with that, there's time to grind, but there's learning like the burnout, because it's definitely been, to finish one of your questions, we opened the storefront January of 2023, or 2024, sorry. It was December 2023 when the build out was happening. So I didn't quite get open like I had planned, plans, best laid plans, and God had timing in that too. So the storefront itself, I've been grinding for like a solid year and a half, because it started in August before
the building.
All the attorneys and all the dealings with legal things in the state.
I think, okay, so right there, I think that's a very interesting point for small business right there. Can you expound a little bit of what that takes if somebody's listening and they're like, I want to have brick and mortar?
Yes.
Tell a
planning
little bit.
For that, I grossly underestimated how quickly you can get into a commercial lease. I just want to laugh.
Was it a triple net?
I want to laugh at
net?
the naivety. Well, I just thought, it's like when you get an apartment or you buy a home, like, 30 to 45 days. But there are so many moving parts that go to that, and so many people and entities that have to sign off and make sure they read this email or documented this DocuSign. And the process was grueling long, because I'm living off of, the money for the build out. And then you're just starting to buy your inventory. And I'm like, I'm holding off on buying because I'm like, are we going to be open before Christmas? Like, just the timing of the initial buy was so, I don't want to say sketchy, but it was like, boy, if we buy for holiday and then we don't open till January, it was like a what do I do for buying kind of panic moment. And so I got the keys November 30th, which is my birthday. And that was, and then we finally got permission to get the contractor in there and do their thing. Thankfully, their part was easy. It was just cosmetic.
Right.
But for a person thinking about it, from the time you find the property you want, because that can take 6 months to a year to kind of figure out where you want to be. But I knew that was a perfect location. It needed a lot of work to visualize. I think what you talked about, getting in here night and day, from what it looks like now to work versus your vision when you walked in and saw it looking totally different.
Yes.
And there's so many moving parts in all of that too, because I know with one of our businesses, I'm thankful we had people to help advise us, and I would recommend anybody get that advice, because there's things, especially in the contracts, all the legalese, especially with those commercial leases, it is a nightmare. So I'm thankful for attorneys, that we had, advisors that we had to give advice as you navigate all that. And it's really weird too, because a lot of times you're under pressure.
Yes.
Because a location, sometimes that's only available for a short time, and somebody's looking.
Yes.
There's a lot of pressure. And then it also affects your vision, because depending on what that space looks like, you may have something in mind. And I know we navigated all of that.
Yeah.
And, it was just crazy.
Because one location, you might be off the street, off of a main street, but you're not going to get seen unless someone has a reason to
go
get,
down.
you know what I mean, as far as your marketing and advertising dollars. So you're like, okay, well, my cost per square foot might be way less, but then what am I going to have to do on this end every month or every day to get my name in front of people? Whereas over at this location, I'm right next to a grocery store.
See, that's really smart. And that's where you're
many
training.
things. You're trying to make a good decision, and you just finally at the end, you're like, I don't know. I'm just going to roll the dice.
You do have
the best of a couple choices.
Yeah, I think you end up having to do that as well.
Yeah.
It's just you do the best that you can, because there's so much responsibility and liability in all of it. It's just, but I'm thankful to have gone through that, because it has given me some lessons that I've needed to learn, and I'm not as fearful moving forward, because I kind of know more what, if I need to do this again. I mean, we have one location too we looked at. We went through the whole process and everything, and ended up come down to parking, and it was something that was like, oh no, it'd be taken care of. Well, it ended up wasn't going to be taken care of, and it killed the whole deal. Just killed the whole deal. And I mean, we invested so much time and energy, and it was like it was a done deal. But you can't go by, word of, it was a legal issue, and you couldn't do it.
So that happened to us.
Learned.
I got delayed because I had chosen, and then they realized I wasn't a franchise. My business really wasn't established in the sense of I hadn't been a store other than online. So to them, they were like, you're pretty much coming in as nothing, and we're not willing to take the risk.
Yep.
And I mean, I could have been, in my mind, I was like, dang it, like you wasted time. My time is valuable too.
Yes,
I'm just a little person, but in my mind, I was like, that was disappointing. So I told the realtor, I was like, I really wish they would have just disclosed that up front, because it did hurt me, and having to now go back and find another thing and then push me back with my timeline. So it's like they came back like a month later, and they're like, hey, we've been talking about you. We wanted to know if you would accept the deal under the same terms. And I was like, okay, I'm getting a lawyer. Just because I wanted to make sure that they weren't going to try to, you have to think not in a people are bad. Yeah, it's just they're the big guys when it comes to they own commercial properties. And of course, they're going to write leases that's going to help and benefit them. Right. So I just wanted someone to review it on my end, because I was a total newbie, and just say, Jen, you might want to ask them. So my attorney and my brother, who's a developer, real estate developer, and he's out of state though, he said, see if they'll do like a 1-year lease with an option to renew at da-da-da-da-da. Like he kind of just guided me and like negotiate with them. And so I think that paired with the attorneys really helped. And my great realtor, I love Martin. They really helped kind of push that deal through for me and give me the confidence to like, use my voice and ask for what I wanted.
Yeah. And now that you've experienced that, you know what to do next time
Absolutely.
around. Because even for any listener that's entrepreneur, there's a lot of things you need to consider, even with the franchise side of things, whether you want to do that or not. There's benefits to that.
Yes.
There's also, it can be a disadvantage, but the franchise also may require certain stipulations as well, and there'll have to be some agreement between them and the landlord also in all of that. But that's heavy thing. So,
yeah.
And also once you get involved in that, it's important for the relationships to continue to develop those relationships, even with the landlords, even with the attorneys,
Yep.
because there may be things down the road. I know for us, different suites became available.
Right.
So I always had a good relationship with our landlord in the event I could take advantage of that.
Yes.
And then when my wife's health resulted in us having to close that franchise, which was a nightmare in and of itself, but we navigated it and I learned so much from it. But because of the relationships with attorneys, with the landlord, we were able to exit that in a very positive way for us. So yeah, all that's important, those relationships.
And I would add to something that you said, I didn't know this, and this. You as a small business owner, nobody normally helps you. Like, you have to learn it page by page, day by day. And, it's not, you're right. It's not that people are bad. It's just, I think we're more culturally inclined now that people are trying to protect. It's about it's just about them.
Their interests versus our interests.
Yes.
And everyone's business has their own reason to move forward. So it's not about, I don't trust the landlord. I've loved the landlord. They've come in and seen the store. They saw what happened, the before and after. I have great support from them. And like I said, the realtor. So anything I ask, they have met the need, or they give me, like, hey, call this person. This is who we've used for commercial, whatever. So I love them. Nothing bad to say. But again, like you said, it's a process, and there's no curriculum.
No,
maybe getting a degree in college felt safer for me because I had, like, when you do this, this, and this, then you get a degree, check. But this is uncharted.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. You can get your degree all day
syllabus.
long, because I have some degrees, and it doesn't matter because that's not real life. It may help you on some things, but until you get there and start doing it.
But you do have to just take the leap. At some point.
Yes.
You do have to take the leap. And sometimes that's a very lonely leap.
Yes.
I feel. And until you get support around you that's in the right way, that encourages you to say, okay, and exhale just a little bit. Not that you just don't feel, this is a better way. There are moments in our business and in our business that are very lonely when it comes to, like, you really do feel like you're out in the middle of the ocean in a boat, and it's not got an engine and it doesn't have sails.
But also
and I just said I love the ocean, but I don't want to be out there doing
no
that.
Navigation.
No, I want a captain, and I want the fishing rods, and I want to be catching the fish and go home.
Yeah. So you've learned all this, and you gain all this knowledge and everything. So let's circle back to your business.
Yes.
And what that's all about, why you're involved in that. You talked about, going to school. You weren't passionate about some of those other details with your school and all, and that didn't help you. It's not what you wanted to be involved in.
Yeah. Well, I would say, how you go through things and you're like, you have the next job. And as a military spouse, I know my military spouse friends can relate to this. You are supporting their career, which is great and for a good cause, and you're helping stabilize your family if you get to be at home, which I did. And so that was wonderful. But then it was like I still had a dream in and outside of being a wife or a mom. And for so long, I was okay with that just being in the dream.
That's what I wanted to
I
ask
have Pinterest vision boards of what my boutique would look like and the type of decor, and like it has been dreamed for 20 years. And the biggest side of that was not necessarily the store. The store is the platform. It's the opening for people to come in and for me to help them feel beautiful and confident.
I love that.
So, and I've done this with men. It was more during 2020 when it was like you could do a lot more remote things. And then we had the capability to do remote things we couldn't do as much before. So I would do closet consultations. We'd be walking through their closet with,
like FaceTime or Zoom?
Yes, we're like on the phone doing FaceTime and they're like pulling this out and we're talking about what suits you now in your life. And if this person had lost 30, 40 pounds and has a physical job now, lost all this weight versus before was sitting behind a desk. And he also struggled with depression. So all of that changed with his job change and then a little weight loss. And then all of a sudden he's like, I need different clothes to wear. And then the transformation in him and this is just me talking about how simple it was he said, I am able to walk into a room now and feel like I can take it. I feel like I'm back. Like he was back on his game. And he said, I was able to ask out this girl I've been thinking about asking out. He's a single guy, like in his like mid 30s or something. So it was a great experience just to even be able to start to style men versus women, and we gain and lose weight throughout our lives for all different reasons.
Preach.
So that is a challenge just because depending on what phase a woman's in, and then it's just the stages of life. If you're in semi-retirement or retirement, you don't need the career clothes anymore. You don't need to dress up. You want travel things that are wash and wear, easy to go. So just being able to have the opportunity to meet more people that I get to help feel lovely and beautiful. And just, we're starting to offer, we haven't advertised this, but this is going forward this next month. We're going to start offering personal styling in the store and to where we can take that out back into their closet. You're good.
We're good. Cough it out so I can get mine coughed out.
Everybody take a break.
I feel like, oh my gosh.
I've done that a couple of times.
I was like trying because then the next, goodness, I'm not
Sneeze
sick.
too if you need to sneeze.
I got choked.
Oh, I hate that.
I got choked. Okay, let's start again on your store.
Okay.
Offering.
So this next month, I'll be offering personal styling. They can make an appointment. So they get an hour with me to do like what I'll pull clothes that I know that they'll love or I think they'll love. We can do fittings. Like when it comes to denim, especially, you need a little more one-on-one. But that way, by making their appointment, I can make it special. I can have a special drink for them or,
You go above and
their
beyond.
Their clothes are already pulled in a special room, so it's not just our standard fitting room. So they get special private one-on-one time. And I don't know about you, but as a mom, especially because I stayed at home over 10 years, I didn't get a lot of private VIP treatment.
No.
So I just feel like it's a way that I can let people feel like special and, just cherished and seen. Because a lot of times you're just racing through life and you're throwing clothes on. This is what I hear from people. And so they're zooming around and feeling just, And when you can say, I have this, and this, and I can go in and grab it and I feel great every time I wear it, it's a done deal.
Yeah,
100%. It's not about, everybody's cost is different on what they're willing to pay for clothes, just like what I'm willing to pay for a car. I mean, it's going to vary from person to person. But also according to your lifestyle, I like to build a capsule where it's like, I know I have a great denim jacket whenever I want to grab it. I might have paid a little more for that piece, but I'm going to have that for 10 or 15, 20 years, as an adult. So I love a vintage piece. It's just those things so I'll build a capsule wardrobe and I love my closet. When I walk in, I'm happy. So the store is kind of a reflection of what my closet would look like to someone if they walked into my personal. Just
I can't
on a bigger
wait
scale.
to come to your store.
It's eclectic. It's hard to say, hone in on a specific style. We're talking about niche. I don't know that I have. I'm building collections within Whiskey Rose. So you can see if you're a boho chic, you like that Western glam kind of cowgirl, go out to a concert, that's where you're going to head to my online store or within my boutique. And then there's that cutesy girly part of me that wants to put on a poofy dress or a poofy skirt and wear it with a moto jacket or tennis shoes. So I mix up style. That is what style is, where you take it and make it your own. So I do the offering, and then they can pick and choose, and we kind of find their personal style that way.
Isn't it wonderful to have people see themselves so differently from the moment they walk in versus when they walk out?
Yes, absolutely.
And
that's what makes me get up and want to do it every day. That's what makes my heart beat fast.
Because you envisioned it for them. And this is where I think psychology, whether it's a degree high train.
That's the beauty of downtown.
Yeah. Y'all hear the train?
Don't happen often. And sometimes it doesn't bother us enough, but it is.
Yeah, that's okay. Are we good? Yeah. Okay. So to know, I know for me and what we do, to have a vision and then let it come to pass.
Right.
And then somebody accept that and say, you and your vision impacted me in this wonderful way. It's so fulfilling. But I also want to point out that not everybody can do that. And so when you went to school for psychology, I don't know, there is psychology in what you're doing. And you have to be sensitive and discerning enough, I think, to read somebody very quickly and, try to get, do you have qualifying questions that you just see somebody and?
I absolutely do. Like generically in the store, I always ask someone like, hey, are you just shopping, or is there something specific you're shopping for, a specific event? And they'll tell me right away, like, yes, I'm looking for this. I haven't, like, this concert coming up, or there's a wedding. So those are fun. But when it comes to being able to help someone with their specific look, like being in their closet is the deal breaker. That's the thing that puts you over the edge. Whether I can see it on a screen or I can walk through it with them, I can see very quickly like where they've been. And it's not a good or bad. It's just like, okay. No. And a lot of times they're transitioning. They're either going back to work or they're coming from work, going into a different type of job or retirement. There's a weight loss component. I mean, so many factors go into what's hanging in there. And a lot of times you buy it, you hang it up, you don't ever touch it again. Not everyone, but like if they like to shop, or they buy it and wore it one time and it's no longer serving them because it was a one-time deal. So why is it still there? So I go in and I just ask the probing questions, not in a negative, but they're usually at that point ready to make the change. They're ready for someone to help them decide yes or no. So I worked for a friend of mine who owns a professional organizing business, and we were in a lot of closets. And so she kind of used me as one of her stylists that would kind of really help the client navigate those decision-making times, because you can organize so much, but there's a point where you have to be like, are you keeping this? What's going on here?
Right.
So we would just do a little game where we'd hold up the item and the customer had like 30 seconds like to decide yes, no. And then it was like, this is a discard altogether. We're just donating it. Yeah. Or this is going back. It might need an alteration, in the closet. Sure. And this last part was like, I might be able to sell it or give it away to someone kind of deal. So it was just like a yes or no. And then it went to the appropriate pile. So that's kind of how I attack it. It's a great model.
Yeah, you have your own curriculum now.
So that makes it easy. And it's easy for the customer too, because when you walk in, if you do like a 2 or a 4 hour segment, depending on the job and the task you're trying to accomplish, it's really great because you see the progress beginning to end. Like kind of like you guys, when you're shooting, I would imagine it's great. You see something happening along the way, but when you sit back and see that immediate result, like first glance at the camera, you're like, we nailed it. Yeah. That's that great satisfaction every day when you either walk out of the store or I walk out of their closet. It's like, oh, this is wonderful. Everybody feels good.
Yeah. So do you still do closet in-person kinds of things?
So that's the thing we're kind of focusing on advertising now, is to where we'll offer a $50 styling appointment. And then if they purchase a certain amount, I think we had it set at $250, that styling fee is waived and it goes towards, their purchase.
Okay.
So that's kind of how we look at it. It's like it schedules their time and then they come in and we pick out the clothes together. And a lot of times, depending on people's budget too, it's like even making the plan for, we can get this and this right now, and then in the future, we're going to add these things or be on the lookout for them. So
right, but from a business standpoint, the way that you've set that model up, you're almost assured a decent sale.
Yes. And of course, we have to think like business because at the end of the day, that's got to pay the bills.
Yeah.
We got to keep the lights on. We can't serve people when we're not making money. So definitely the goal is to make money. And we want it to be profitable. But for the customer, it's like we want them to see the value. And I think easily there's value in just having one-on-one time with a person that has the experience that I have when it comes to clothes and fashion and closets. So I'm not trying to make them look like little versions of me in Whiskey Rose either. I want them, like you, Audra, when you're like going to market your business, you're going to dress differently than you would be when you're in here on the set. So in your closet, this is for when I'm going out and marketing and being PR, being in the forefront of my business versus when I'm working. But when you grab it, it's going to fit. There's not holes, there's not snags. Like I'm that eye in the closet that kind of guides you and helps you see things that we get used to not seeing because we live in it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I've experienced, especially this past year, from things beyond my control, a change and a shift in my body and in, therefore in my closet. And there's nothing, for me, there's nothing more discouraging than to just sit there and look at everything and go, that doesn't fit. And I liked that. That's still me, but that doesn't fit. And how do I get around that without going and buying a new wardrobe? Because I know where I'm at is not forever.
Right.
So I will tell you what I have done. I rent the clothes.
Yes, that's a great idea. And that is an option, especially for event wear. Like links and being able to purchase things and do things online is amazing because we're visual and you can show someone and my clients and I will do boards. Like they'll send me Pinterest boards and we'll do collaborative things where they're like, I kind of like this. And then we'll shoot those ideas back and forth. And that's very easy for some people. But, I don't know. I lost my train of thought.
I'm glad.
No, it's fine. I was doing it too.
It's so good. I'm just in the moment.
I love it because I'm glad there are people who are able to do that. I am not that way. It doesn't. But I do know that exists because I'm the father of 4 girls. Oh my God. And we have tons of nieces. And so some of them, all of them are into different styles, just about. It's all very different. And even with guys, I know, some of them have an eye for that. And it's something that you notice and you see. I don't have that gift in me. So I'm glad there are people that do have that gift in me, and you have to rely on
people to tell you the truth,
and even Audra too.
Renting is great though for the transition, like you're saying, because you can say, I'm going to spend $100 a month on your whatever or what I don't know. They have different levels.
They have different levels,
and you can pick so many pieces that month to kind of rotate. So it's great. Like if you're not fitting in your jeans, you can rent a couple pair of jeans to get you through. I used to, before that was possible, I would like grab something from Old Navy or something that was like on trend. I knew it was going to last me long, but it kind of got me through the hump where I still felt a little stylish in the denim or whatever, because I wasn't going to spend what I would normally spend in my size. I knew I was going to end up at.
Yeah. Well, I want to get to how you supply your store and how you pick what you're going to buy.
Sure.
But the other thing is there is a different standard for women than there is for men. And that's not a sexist kind of remark. It's just true.
I think it depends on the guys too. It does, because some that is very important.
Well, no, that's a great point. There is.
I think there is.
I guess most of the people around me, barring Daniel, who wears the same thing, but if he does go and shop, we go together. And he ends up being, because we just know each other enough to say that's you or that's not you.
Yeah.
But like even for this podcast, if I wore the same outfit every single time,
Right.
and so that wouldn't be good.
Yeah, and that's where I'm not worried
and I
about
don't know
it. But I know for her,
yeah.
that's important.
I don't know if that's girl code. I don't know if it's just me.
No, I think that's actually very smart for the type of job you're in. And that's a great idea for people who have good style. Like you have a good sense of your style. I don't mean in a judgment way. I just mean like what you feel comfortable wearing. When you pick it, it's most likely going to fit. Mm-hmm. And I think some of them will send you like 2 sizes. So if it's you're not quite sure, then you can always send the other one back, which is a win.
Yeah,
Big
and they
time.
pay for shipping. Like
Yes.
And you have it picked up at your front door. They send the bag.
It's brilliant idea.
But, okay, so now I want to transition. I know this is a hard transition, sort of, but I want to understand where you're supplying, what got you to do your online stuff,
Right.
where you started pulling from, because obviously you still have an online presence.
Yes.
With clothes.
Right.
So tell me that, and then tell me, is that different than what you put in the boutique?
So lots of good questions there. I started to source product that I knew that I had worn and loved, like brands that I had currently in my closet, things that I had maybe sometimes for years, like a classic blouse. And I'm like, oh, I love that quality. I don't wear it a ton, but it's just never going out of style. So those are the brands where I started. I left out a little bit when I was in between psychology, social work, and how I got to fashion and furniture sales. But I worked for Nordstrom. That's how the fashion career began.
Girl.
And I lived in Seattle. So it's just Nordstrom is everywhere.
Yeah.
That's where it started. So
And
they
people
weren't just like a little store. Charlotte, it's just a nothing compared to like a Nordstrom in on the West Coast.
No.
So it's just beautiful. Like a Macy's in New York or something.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't compare.
It doesn't.
So, but Nordstrom was amazing. I loved it. And I learned so many great tools when it came to working with people in sales and styling there. And just their customer service is unprecedented.
Yes.
Like they really set the bar high. So I love that. And I feel like that world-class customer service became a part of who I am because I just was programmed into it. And you just want to give people the best. So I was already accustomed to like pulling clothes ahead of time, calling customers. This is years and years before we had Stitch Fix and all the things. And so they had a personal styling department, and your personal clients, you knew them. You knew what sizes they bought. Our whole thing was we got paid on commission. We did not get paid hourly. So your whole goal was to build relationships with people. You talked about that. So having the relationship is what brings them back. They can shop anywhere. They came back to me, and they came back to people in my department because we knew their body. We knew the style. They knew if they came in, we weren't going to lie to them because that just comes out of your paycheck.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? So they knew they were getting most of the time, someone who just really they could trust. Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing. You don't want someone to be like, oh, that's so pretty for the sake of a sale. And you can feel it when you're being sold. You want someone that's like, I like this and this, but like this could be better. I feel like your waistline would be more accentuated if we tried this instead, or if we like did a V-neck instead of this crew neck style. So, and there's a lot of nuances to that because some people like they don't want their neck exposed or they don't like to show their shoulders. So there's a whole bunch of just not a whole bunch, but screening questions I ask before we even get to looking at their closet. About like, are there things you don't want to wear? Colors, we talk about all that to where it can be really personal, not just someone behind a computer like, oh, she's a size medium. Oh, she likes boho chic. Okay, Like, I know you. I know what's in your closet now. So that's the difference between me and like Stitch Fix or Daily Look or, those great.
Any of them.
And I tried them all before I did this, like to where I'm doing it now, because I thought if other people are doing this, I want to know what's so great about it. and they could never nail me on my style. I guess I don't really have one.
Because you're creative and you wear.
So I was always disappointed, and I was like, I have friends that do it and they love it, but I'm like, they just never get me. I'm better off using that styling fee to buy something else that I know I'm going to wear.
So, but then so you started with the lines that you already knew, and is that how the buying part of that?
Sourcing, because I'd been in furniture and we were in the manufacturing side of furniture to where we're creating and in the supply chain and all of the logistics. I was aware of how things are sourced, like where you're going to the source, the money in the middle, like, there's all these moving parts from what you're buying it at and what you're actually landing your cost at, when you've been in business. But when it comes to actual physical, tangible items too. So just learning that helped me even give me a grid for what I was going to do when I started sourcing my own product. So I found, I went to Atlanta Market.
Oh, yeah.
Our goal this year is to go to Nashville. It's called Magic. It's a little more, I think, our style. They have one in Vegas and they have one in Nashville that's called Magic. So I want to take my daughter. Her and I do a lot in the boutique together. And then maybe if we can bring a couple other people that have been part of this from the beginning, just to let them see what happens and how you source, because that's always so fun. So we'll go on a little buying trip, not too far away. And then when you can really see and put your hands on it, sorry, I didn't mean to kick you under the table. That's where it makes the difference overall, where I know that I know. So I feel like I've been very cautious this year to only pick brands I really know, and then maybe dabble a little with a sample here and there before I go buying into it, because I want the clothes to feel great and look great, of course. But like you put it on and you're like, oh, like you just can feel the difference, or it feels comfortable and you're just not feeling scratchy and stiff. So I get that comment a lot. People come in and say, oh, the clothes all feel so good. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I'm old now because I want everything to feel comfortable.
Me too.
But I still want to look good.
Yeah.
I see some common things, though, in what you're expressing as it deals with clothes and fashion. It's being brand aware of things and using brands that you trust. So that's something an entrepreneur, business owner really needs to do. And you do experiment. You try. You're watching trends. Things change. I know for me in the past, one of my businesses, there were certain products I would use, other products I would not touch, because over the course of time, I knew what I could trust. I also established a relationship with those that provided those materials, so I knew if something failed or I needed to get educated, because I wanted to do things right where they lasted a long time, and that's with branding I think is important. The other thing you mentioned I don't want to overlook is going to these different meetings, like going to Nashville, going to these large, like the fashion markets, different things. I did that too in some of the different things I was involved in, and that was very important too, because you do get exposed to newer things. You're able to talk and do some additional research, and I think that's something that entrepreneurs need to incorporate into they're doing.
Hairstylists.
Here you are doing it in fashion.
Right.
Hairstylists go to hair shows.
That's right.
To keep current. And so in fashion, it's exactly what you're doing. I have also a question just about how you have to look forward in a year as far as, okay, well, this,
what trends are we going to go for?
For the, and you don't know yet. So like, that's also.
You have to know your customer too, because this year has been that thing where I've been realizing even though I'm in Wahlberg, that doesn't mean I'm going to dress like I came or live in Wahlberg. Like that's not my style. And it's not a bad thing. It's a small town. So I grew up in a small town, but I never dressed like I grew up in a small town, if that translates.
I think you're my new best friend.
I'm a farm girl, okay? I grew up on tractors with skid steers and cows and pigs. Like it was a working farm. So I was the kid that learned grit, shoveling smelly stuff, and baling hay. Like that's, I think, what really made me the person that was able to follow through and do this so far, because that's some hard, nasty stuff you don't want to do.
No, but
and you just sometimes have to get dirty and do it anyway.
But yeah, to your point though, you're talking about, different regions, different communities.
Right.
And again, that's something you need to be aware of, because something that works somewhere else may not work here, or you can take part of it and make it work here. And that's not a bad thing. That's just how it is, and that's being smart.
It's cultural
it's wisdom.
Too. You have to know your culture here.
Yeah. It's like the tipping point though of or balancing act of, I want to be able to give them what stuff they can walk in and buy for now, like their everyday, but also that special event
little
thing,
elevated.
whether it's like the jewelry or the. I don't have shoes yet in the store, but the bag, whatever it is that's that accessory that's going to take their T-shirt and jeans to the next level for whatever they're walking into. So that's kind of how I would look at it, like the basics, great everyday stuff, some fun event things, but then the accessories are really what stands out with us.
What about, do you have employees?
Yes and no. So we're not technically on the books. I don't know if I should even say that. But I mean, it's my daughter and her friends. They're all like 16 to 20. And so they're working very part-time, like more like on the contract level. But my daughter is
the
main.
It's okay.
Yeah, she's the main employee. She's been in there learning from the beginning with me, tagging and steaming and all the things.
Oh, you steam everything that goes out there?
And she helps with the buying too. It's fun to get her perspective because she'll be 17 next week. But she gives that perspective of like, Mom, do not. No. Because I'm going to put metallic pants in my store. And she's like, why? And I was like, fine, I'll put them online. Like if somebody wants them, they can have them, but I won't stock them. So it's the difference there are some things I put online more as a trial. Like, okay, well, that's the same vendor, but I might put like a special dress with a bunch of fringe. Like, not everybody's going to buy that, but it gives them the opportunity to have it be there and see the full extent of my style. And then we can see, do we want to buy deep in this? Did this trend really take off? Well, okay, we'll buy some, put it in the store. So that's kind of how I decide.
How much would you say a percentage of your business is online versus the brick and mortar now?
I would say it's still definitely primarily brick and mortar. Because I feel like the customers that I'm serving are in like 35 to 55. There's definitely older, but as far as target market, and they love to shop. They like to touch it and feel it. And they say to me so often, oh, I love that we have this store here and I have a place I can try things on. Where they don't have to ship it because we're so used to ordering it, try it on, ship it back, and just the frustration of not having to return it.
Yeah.
Being relieved.
And having the experience. Why is it named Whiskey Rose?
Well, I would just say that kind of describes the path I've been on. I've just had this winding path that's got a little bit of thorns. There's a lot of beauty. It's been uncharted. So
I love it.
Yeah.
But I just,
And my drink of choice would probably be whiskey over wine.
See.
Even though I love them both, but
So what do you dream now?
Well,
what's in the future that you still...
The big vision of where I would see us going would be, I would love to really expand the styling side of it to where I get to be part of the storefront, but I have someone, probably Zoe or, that younger category, helping to manage the store. So I get to do more of the visionary things that I love, the creative side. So like collaborating with photographers. I have a friend of mine, we're going to do a fashion show for a thing that she does every year with her seniors to promote her business. And then I supply the clothing, and then we're going to work with like a dress or a bridal shop to kind of do a little more of the fancy side too. So just things like that where it's like I can do projects and start to work on, that think on your feet creative.
Yeah.
That's really me.
The spontaneous.
And I thrive in that environment. So I would love to start doing more collaborative projects in the future to where the styling carries me more, and then the store can be managed as I'm training people up. So I don't, it's a process. You don't know how long that's going to take.
No,
it just
but
depends on a lot of factors.
It's very attainable.
Yeah.
I really think.
And then I think even branding, having our own, where it's like as we build relationships with our vendors and suppliers, we can get in, buy it at a lesser cost, and then that saves our customer, and it can be even more personalized to our style. So I have a jewelry person that I've been talking to for 6 to 8 months, and we've had a meeting, and it's just like she can do custom to where it's like a truly whiskey rose piece.
Wow.
And we're not there yet. That takes more money. But at the same time, it's like just to have that vision that it's coming. And I'm excited for it because then we can give something truly unique that's just us to our customers.
That's awesome.
So you have your storefront, and how has social media helped in this? Has that been helpful or
I think
a
social
challenge?
media is helpful. However, one thing I learned this last year is your social media can be taken away from you in a heartbeat if Meta decides that somebody, I think we were reported for something or it just flagged us. But however, we lost our Facebook of like almost 3,000 followers in like a moment, right before we were going to go live, like 30 minutes before the live. And it really set me, like, even in a mental place, like, like where you've like, I built this brick by brick. And it's gone. What do I do? And like, it was a little discombobulating to try and like figure out how we're going to fix it. And, then there's things that don't slow down, and then you have to fix problems. So that was a hurdle. And one of my friends who's more into the social media marketing side, she said, Jen, when you build that website and it is strong, you will not need to worry if your Facebook gets put down or Instagram goes down, even if just something happens to Meta. She's like, you're not relying on your customers to primarily only see you there then, because they're so used to your QR code and running to your website for announcements or, So it's just building that. It's very important, but referral and word of mouth, people talking about your business is really, I've had so many people come in, oh, so-and-so told me, and you just get referred, the next person comes. And so I'm so thankful for the support that we've had in this community, like around Winston, not so much Greensboro, because I don't overlap there as much anymore, but like High Point. Winston, Kernersville, and Wahlberg.
My
North
mom
Davidson.
lives in Wahlberg.
Yeah.
So
you need to come shop with us.
I'm absolutely going to, for sure.
Yeah, I was curious about the social media because different entrepreneurs, different businesses, their approach is different. Some things work, some things don't. I understand the Meta deal. I had something very similar replicated from somebody from another country.
Yeah.
And take all our pictures and set up, and it was a mess.
Yes.
With that side of things, but you have to. But it was also important.
It's a catch-22.
Yeah.
Because
it
it's
is.
not
You
that
need to have all of it.
You have to.
It's not that we get really any leads or sales as much from the social medias and from the website. It is that they qualify you by looking at that as a photographer or as a podcaster. Yes. You have to have the presence because, if they're a new customer, if it is word of mouth, they're going to go look you up.
Right.
And I got checked seriously got checked yesterday. My family, we sing as a family every once in a while. And I was at the church, and one of the little, blessed, older, mature lady said to me, she said, I've tried to find you so I could get excited about today, and you don't have a Facebook page, and I can't find you on YouTube. And I was like, yes, ma'am, I really need to start that.
And there may be a reason for that too.
I was like, we were really busy. We have a lot of kids. But last night at 1 a.m, my husband and I were sitting there creating. It's done.
Yes.
Like, it started already. I got to go fix it today. but like she checked me, big time, and
it's a tool, and I think it's important, and all the way around.
So okay, tell us all your details because I want to make sure that everybody knows from the front where they started. If they missed the middle, tell them basically about your business, where to contact you, what your hours are, that kind of thing.
Okay, so they can go to us on Facebook or Instagram. So
you don't have to know right now.
Off the top of my head, I'm like, okay, so Facebook and Instagram will have the link to our website.
We'll put that here.
Shows that directly. Yeah. But it is shopwhiskeyrosenc.com.
Okay.
So NC, there is a Whiskey Rose boutique in, I believe, Indiana. That always pops up, when we were first opening. So, but yes, we are the Whiskey Rose in North Carolina, just over in Wahlberg, next to Food Lion and the vape store and the China One.
My mom lives right there.
Yeah.
Literally.
The amount of people that go through that intersection every day, I mean, we did the research. It's like 10 to 15,000 cars roll through there.
That's crazy. Okay.
Just one direction.
And then everybody needs to know, again, if you didn't catch it at the beginning or you left off in the middle, Jen offers one-on-one styling that is in store, and also you can work directly with them in their homes.
Yes.
And I think that is really amazing to be able to do that. If you are feeling uninspired or uncomfortable or all those things that making you aware of you just not feeling, and I love how she said it, it's not serving you anymore. It's time.
Yeah.
Don't wait. Just, see what you have in your budget and be friendly to that, of course, but it pays to pay a little more for a concierge experience.
Correct.
And I think that and a human contact,
right,
that is there with you to make sure you are totally happy by the time that you walk out of that. And that's what I hear. So everybody that can hear us, see us, wherever you may be, please check out Whiskey Rose. It's shopwhiskeyrosenc.com, and that will be up on your screen. And I just want to say thank you so much. You've had some such valuable things, and we only wish you humongous growth.
Thank you. I appreciate this opportunity. It's been wonderful to talk to y'all. You're very easy to talk to for anyone thinking about booking a podcast. It's very easy.
Good. Thank you. Shameless plug. I mean,
absolutely.
That was awesome.
Yeah. You make it easy.
Well, and hopefully valuable to you as a business owner for content and all those kinds of things. And that's what I would also say to our listeners and viewers, that doing our podcast at Small Business Leaders Podcast, you really are investing in your business by coming here to the table. Because as you've heard, we leave, some stones unturned, but not many, hopefully. And you can take this footage and, use this in your business. And in this day and age, content is king. So you can do that here. We would love to have you at Legacy Podcast Studio. If you want to not just be a guest, if you want to start something of your own, we facilitate that with all of our equipment and engineering and editing capabilities. So really, it's a turnkey operation. So if you're thinking about that, stop thinking about it and just do it and give us a call. You have anything?
Nope. Just find us, like us, befriend us, follow us.
We would
love that if you would.
And
if you have questions.
Yeah.
Comments, we'd like to hear them.
If you have ideas that you want us to ask certain things that you aren't, fully aware of yet, we'll be happy to do that.
And what we try to bring to you is the opportunity to get to know our business owners and entrepreneurs. And that means a lot. It means a lot to me. So.
And I love it. We're so like-minded today with our guest, Jen. All right, Whiskey Rose Boutique. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll see you next episode. Take care.